Reason number 8 why you might be in a sexless marriage is a very unique one. It's also the last one we're going to talk about, and it has an easy solution. I wrote a book called The 5 Sex Languages. Miscommunication about your sex language is reason 8. This means you simply don't know the sex language of your spouse, and they don't know yours. And here's what happens. Each one of us has a sex language, and I'll go through the 5 of those real quickly. But what happens is we tend to give sex in the way we want sex. And so if we're, say, sex language A, we give sex in an A format. Well, our spouse is almost never the same sex language, almost never. And so you're giving them sex in A, but they're really a C sex language. And so they're not getting the maximum amount of sexuality, and neither are you. And over time, that can disintegrate the desire for sex because you're not really getting your needs met, okay? In the book, The 5 Sex Languages, I really walk through this entire thing. I am going to give you a basic information like I have on so many of these things, but you can get that book and it really transform your sex life, okay? Because once you have a language to communicate, you won't necessarily be comparing each other like, well, you're just weird or different, and because you're different, I can just push you aside. What you want to do is capitalize on the differences. Learn the differences, have a positive language for the difference, and then really go after satiating your spouse in the language that they're designed in. Instead of fighting it, you ride it, and you go with the tide that's already been created for you. And so it really is a much better way, and I really have seen people just with this move from a kind of a sex-less type marriage to a very sexually fulfilling marriage and more sex. So that's why we included it, because it does really, really help. So let me go through the 5. You may find out who you are, but I would really say get the book, walk through that, because it gives you a lot more tools and languages to work through. So number 1, sex language number 1 is fun. This person wants sex and fun. So this person's going to want to have sex maybe outside, or in the laundry room, or do sex in a different position, or they're going to want to have fun with sexuality. Now, if you're not a fun sex person, this might not be fun for you, but it is fun for them. And when you mix that with them, they are really having a much more pleasurable experience. Sex language number 2, desire. This person wants to be wanted. It's really important that you not only want them sexually, but you want them, okay? Them feeling hunger from you is really important. How you language your invitation, I really desire you, I want you sexually, means a lot more than, hey, let's have sex. Learning the language of your spouse is huge sexually and can lead to a greater level of sex, or it can diminish sex into a sexless marriage. Pleasure. This person is like the sex professor. They want to learn how to expand pleasure in their own body and in your body. They want to say different things. They want to try different things. This person will want to experiment quite a bit. And now, if you're not a pleasure sex language, you might take this as kind of like nothing's good enough, nothing makes you happy. It's not the truth at all. They're happy sexually. They just want to try something else. This is a person who they want, to try different ice creams just because they can. Not because they don't like vanilla or they don't like chocolate. It's because they just want to try what pistachio tastes like, or strawberry or raspberry tastes like. And they don't want different lovers. They want to expand it with you. They want to find your pleasure zones and what makes you happier, as well as allowing you to explore them and go, wow, that sound or that behavior or this thing really worked. That was amazing. We don't need to do it again, but that was amazing. Or maybe we can do it again. Next time we'll add X to it and see if that even takes it to a higher place. They like to experiment, and that's not a bad thing. It's just what it is, okay? Patience. This is the person who time is really important. The long foreplay, the long touch, making time for sex, really important. For them, that quality of just touch and length and just not being in a rush is pleasurable. Now, I guarantee you, if you're a patient sex language, you married someone different than you. And so them learning your language is going to be an experience, and you growing towards them and learning theirs will be an experience. The last one is acceptance and celebration. They want to know you're in love with all of them. Their brain, their spirit, their soul, how they contribute, and that you accept their flaws, their quirkiness, their artsiness, their whatever, and there's a lack of judgment with them in a lot of ways, and you're just really into them as a person, and bringing it to sexuality really adds a lot. Now, quickly you can see that you're probably different than your spouse. Even in a normal situation, learning this is helpful. But when you start moving into a sexless marriage, this might be a critical piece to move you back towards learning a language about each other, okay? And you might have those other issues. You might have intimacy anorexia, sex addiction, you might have depression or thyroid or testosterone or things you need to deal with. But if you don't have the language for how your spouse is designed sexually, you could stay in a sexless situation just because of the negative reinforcement or the lack of, like, you don't get me. You don't get me and you don't want to get me. And if you're having that conversation, this is the problem.